Hey guys, what it is your girl Cadillac. Yes, I'm Cadillac Dixon. I'm the Drama Life Prison Wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice. Open, girl! To see justice before all face to bled. Yes, it's your girl Cadillac. Anyways, I'm coming through. Today is May the 18th. Yes, 2023. Coming through because yesterday I worked in the frozen yogurt shop, right, at my theme park. It was quite boring, girl. It was boring, but when your girl get bored, your girl mine. Them little wheels up there, them little, you ever seen them little clock, what do you call those things? The gears. Those gears started turning, right? And I get a lot of good information. And I know I've told y'all before that I'm not a good speaker at all, right? A lot of times I know what I want to say. I know what I'm trying to say. And I literally do not know how to say it to get it out, to portray it to you. But I am an artist. I'm an artist of words. I can write really good. Like I can, if you have me sit down and write what I'm trying to say, so much easier to get my point across than me just trying to say what I need to say, because I'm going to get tongue-tied and this and that. I got that little social anxiety thing going on, and I got a lot of other issues like that. But writing, girl. So I sat down, and I was bored, girl. So I said, I got some receipt paper. And I said, let me go back. And now y'all know, when I was at Walmart and I was rapping, that's where a lot of them songs that I would write, the best ideas would just flow to me when I'm just sitting there bored, like blank sheet of paper, blank mind, right? So these are thoughts that I wrote about, and I thought it could make a really good video, a different way to explain wrongful convictions. I guess that's becoming my niche, right? Which is weird because, I was fighting for prison reform and criminal justice reform and for prisoner rights and things like that, because they're still citizens. They're just incarcerated citizens. It's not like you lost your citizenship just because you went to prison, rightfully, or in this case, wrongfully, in many other cases, wrongfully. You're still a citizen, right? But we tend to not care about them once they've gotten a DC number that kind of crosses out that little name that's on their birth certificate, right? And it replaces it with a number. You're now a number, and nobody cares about numbers, right? Like even an accountant, which y'all know, baby girl just got her degree in accounting. I'm going to ask her, be like, baby girl, do you care about any of them numbers that you be crunching, girl? No. Why would you care about a number? A number has no history. It has no future. It has no past. It has nothing. It is just a freaking number. And that is literally that's how they care about a person once they have that DC number, right? So the thing is that we would care if we knew that wrongful convictions, and for not just wrongful convictions, the justice system in a whole, if we cared, if we knew it affected us, we would care far more about it, and we would make changes, and we would reform it as it needs to be. The thing is that you could do something. I mean, what if you did do something? What if you had to defend your family? Or what if you did something that would be considered a petty crime? But in the justice system, there literally is no justice. Crime and punishment should be equal. Equal crime for equal time. In our system, they tend to give African Americans, per se, because y'all know that's the target audience, the Black African American man, more time, 3 to 4 times more than any other ethnicity. That means the reason why your black man is locked up and the pens are filled with black faces, for the most part, are because they're doing more time. It's not that they're doing more crime, because y'all know I've been a prison wife for over 20 years. Sometimes I see more white faces and Hispanic faces than I see black faces. But it's just the black man gets more time for the crime that he does or doesn't do or whatever. So you could be trying to defend yourself and you can end up in those shoes. It doesn't mean that now a trial should be just, so that, when you are brought up on these charges, they're put into the light and they're basically tried correctly and you're found innocent in that situation, right? But if we don't have a just system, your innocent self, have a shot at not even being found innocent in our current system the way it is. That's because it's malfunctioning. Okay, any other thing that will malfunction, we would want to fix it. Cars malfunction, they tell you to bring it on in, get it serviced. It has a defect. Other products, for the baby, don't use it, it's defective. Regular products, they're causing this or causing that. Stop use of it and return what you have or whatever, or throw it out because it's defective. We don't continue to use defective things, except for when it comes to our justice system. Completely defective, but we still use it. We stand behind it. We defend it tooth and nail. And it's because we think that it's for those that are below us. We think it's for those that are out there committing crimes. I'm not committing crimes, girl. What do I need to worry myself with a justice system for? Like, girl, I do everything by the freaking book. And this is me, girl. If y'all know me, y'all know I go by that book. I be having a book like this. Like, what does the book say I got to do? What do? I do not. You can't get me to do nothing, right? So why would I need to concern myself with the system? Well, the reason why, though I thought it did not directly affect me, and I felt the same way. If you feel that way, promise you I felt that way too. I literally felt that way. What's the point? If you go to jail, I'm sure you had to have done something. And, take that higher than thou stance. And it's because I didn't know it couldn't affect me. It's literally affected the last 20 something and however many more years it affects of my life. It has affected it because the husband that I had, the father of my child, my soulmate, was taken away from me because of this defected system. And not just me, taken away from our daughter, taken away from now our granddaughter. And it's like, my husband's not the only one. There's so many that are basically without their father because of this system. All right, so I wrote down, I'm gonna name this, hold on, what you think you know but really have no idea about wrongful convictions. Today, I am discrediting the myths. Girl. Okay, so let's get into it. Wrongful convictions are like a freak of nature occurrence that rarely happen. Now, this is a myth that we think is true about wrongful convictions. They're not a freak of nature occurrence, which I literally myself thought that. Like, this has to be something wrong. Once we bring it to the right people, they'll make it right. They'll fix the situation, and they won't even look at it to fix it. So how are they going to fix the situation? Wrongful convictions are not a freak of nature. They're happening more and more and more, and they're continuing to happen. And it's because we have a broken system. The system is not working. It is defective, and that is why it is happening so often. That's like continuing to use those defective products or those products that are continually causing you health issues, you keep using them, you're going to keep getting those health issues, right? Because we're not fixing the product itself, right? Okay, we become blindly secure and absolutely trusting of our judicial system, not truly knowing what really happens behind the scenes of a criminal case trial. Girl, I got so many videos. I don't know how long y'all been riding with your girl, but y'all already know I got so many videos of all the things that they've done wrong in just my husband's case. Starting from the police and their wrongful reports, to the tampering with the evidence, tampering with the jury, to the making and forcing of witnesses, to deleting witnesses that should have been added, to all types of stuff, to the judge miscalculating and giving Marcello points for priors when Marcello has no priors, to everything, the whole experience, like the whole experience. Like if somebody gave us one of those surveys, like after your trial, how do you feel about your experience? Girl, do you feel like your constitutional rights were stayed intact? Girl, do you feel like your civil rights were still maintained throughout the process of this trial? Girl, no, not at all. Like, that's crazy. But we defend it. We absolutely trusting. We become blindly secure and absolutely trusting of our judicial system, not truly knowing what really happens behind the scenes of a criminal case, not knowing that the prosecutors are, hey, give me that one for this one, and willing and dealing and all of that. You don't see all that and you don't know that, but yet you trust this system, right? Okay, the general consensus of our criminal justice system is that you, the law-abiding citizen, needs not trouble themselves with the system because we the people, and that is that illusion of democracy, we the people, right, have put in place the fairest system humanly possible, with checks and balances that could withstand simple human error. Now, it is most time thought that a wrongful conviction is because of human error, the wrong person in prison. That's what you think, and that is why you can't believe that it can happen. Who makes a mistake like that? That's like selling the wrong vehicle, giving the wrong vehicle to the wrong person, or giving the wrong kid to the wrong parent. Like, people think it's like that. No, they're literally, deliberately, I believe they're wrongful convictions on purpose. You're cutting too many corners. You're doing too many things. You're willing too many wheels. You're dealing too many deals. Girl, that sounds like a rap. But you're doing too much to come out with a true and fair verdict. Like, you don't need to tamper with it. And I do have a saying that the truth needs no manipulation. If you want the truth, keep your hands off of it. You don't need to do anything to get the truth. You can research. You need to basically investigate these crimes, these trials. You need to do all of that, the footwork, the actual work. But you do not need to force anybody into pleading. You don't need to force anybody into IDing somebody. You don't need to force, because once you start forcing, the truth is going to evade you. Okay. So the system, because we the people have this illusion of democracy, have put in place the fairest system humanly possible with checks and balances. But see, we don't check it. With checks and balances that could withstand simple human error, that creates yet another mirage of justice, that our system is fair and just and non-biased and based off of our constitutional and civil rights that ensure our justice and liberties. That's the fabric of our proud country. And that's the fabric that our proud country was cut from. So it gives us that illusion that no, you're not just going into some chaotic, barbaric session. You're going into the court of justice. And they're going to maintain your constitutional rights and civil liberties and all that go out the door. Once you walk in there and they swear you in and you see the stuff that takes place, you're like, well, what happened to my rights? I thought I had the right. Girl. Okay. With such a fair and just system intact, it is unfathomable. I can't say that. It is unfathomable. Something like that, girl. I know the word I'm trying to use. That approximately 10,000 of our law-abiding citizens are wrongfully convicted each year. So, 10,000 wrongful convictions a year. Now, if you're wrongfully convicting somebody, that means that they were not guilty. So you're wrongfully convicting about 10,000 law-abiding citizens per year. And we're still okay with this. Now, 10,000 is a lot. You literally could be one of those 10,000 and one of your family members. One of them could be. I mean, that's too high of a number, right? And yes, it could be you next. That's the next thing that I have on there. It could be literally you have a better chance of being wrongfully convicted than winning the lottery, girl. Like, come on. And you don't want to fix it. You literally do not care, right? Another aspect is that you maybe and most likely are unaware of how these miscarriages of justice happen within the justice system to begin with, right? So I'm going to school you, girl. The first leading cause of wrongful convictions is eyewitness misidentification. Leading cause. Though it has been studied how unreliable an eyewitness can actually be, and to go deeper than that, how unreliable even the victim in the case itself's account and the ID can be, the system continues to rely upon and give a great amount of weight in a case in regards to a person of their guilt or innocence based on one or a few or more's identification of who the alleged perpetrator of the crime is or who they could be. It is said that a person outside of being the victim actually has a better account of who the perpetrator is or could be than the alleged victim themselves. So after learning of how misidentifications can and does at times breach our system of justice, the question then arises, why do we continue to convict or wrongfully convict our citizens off of this at times unreliable form of evidence? Because they say victim, they basically, they take that account from the victim. It really, a victim's account is nothing more than a witness statement, basically. But played in front of a jury, that jury is going to lean towards what that victim says. And even in, what was his case? Jimmy Dennis. The victim ID'd the wrong person. And come to find out, they forced her to ID him. She came back years later saying she did not know. And then, oh my gosh. What is his name? Kevin Strickland. The lady that ID'd him was coerced to ID him. Because someone said, are you sure it couldn't be Kevin Strickland? Right? And that lady died and knew that it was not him. She had wrote the courts. She petitioned him, please. I don't think it was him. I literally don't. And she died trying to help free him. That means the person, one of the people in the cases against her, was not arrested. In that person's place, that person went free, lived free for decades upon decades. And in his place, they locked up Kevin Strickland for 43 years for something he did not do. That's our justice system that you defend tooth and nail. Just letting you know. And even in Kevin Strickland's case, when the prosecutors, everybody knew he was innocent, they still didn't want to let him go. They said innocence is not a reason to be exonerated. Literally, does that make any sense? When you hear that come out of somebody's mouth, does that make sense? But that was what was handed down as basically their reason for not pardoning him, not letting him out, after they even find that he is not guilty of that crime. They're gonna go out with a fight. They're not gonna just say, oh, okay, it wasn't you. They gotta hide all the stuff that they've done to wrongfully convict you, right? So what better way to hide than to deny? No, we're not right. We're not wrong. I'm sorry. That's gaslighting. We're not wrong. No, we don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. And, they go and hide behind this stuff. But that makes no sense that an innocent person literally has to stay in prison because innocence is not a reason for being pardoned. Does that make any sense to you? Okay. All right. Where did I leave off? Eyewitnesses. Okay. Then arises, why do we continue to wrongfully convict our citizens off of this at times unreliable form of evidence? It seems we need to also apply other evidence as well. So don't just solely go by the victim statement. Yes, of course, take the victim statement. But you also need to apply other evidence to it. Does the other evidence corroborate what this victim is saying? If you have a lack of evidence, the only way you should solely be basing it on the strictly what the victim says, when you have nothing else. You don't have no DNA. You have literally nothing to work with in this case. That's when you jump to that. It is not the first move that, oh, the victim said this, so we're going to go with what the victim said. When does the DNA show that? Does the crime scene analysis, does it return corroborate what she's saying or he's saying? Just you need to apply other evidence, not just that, right? Because of these coercions. And we got to hurry up and just close this case. We can't have this case open like that. So we're going to find anybody. And basically, so we can close the case. But that does not give the victim justice. Okay. The second leading cause in wrongful convictions was said to be prosecutorial misconduct. Give some examples. I was supposed to fill that in. I'm going to think a little bit more on that because that's a lot. That's that willing and dealing stuff. That's not giving certain pieces of evidence that if the jury knew that, then they might decide one way or the other. They might decide differently if they knew this aspect and that aspect. And that's what they were saying in Corey Miller's case, that there was information being hidden and the jury actually could have decided differently if, And then who else was that case? That was Kevin Strickland again, where he had an all-white jury except for one black man. And after that jury came back hung, the prosecutor basically said, hey, that'll never happen again, and turned around and gave Kevin Strickland an all-white jury. That is prosecutorial misconduct. Those are not things that need to be done in a just trial. You don't need to do all of that. Actually, the prosecutor shouldn't just be on the state side or just be, like, if we're really being fair, that's what the illusion they want to sell us, right? Justice, it's fair, it's, and if you're found guilty, it's because you've had your fair shot, and you're really guilty. But you don't need to do those certain things if you truly want a fair trial. The prosecutor should not be doing that. They shouldn't lean to one side or the other. They should actually be after the truth. And if the truth is that the evidence does not corroborate that, they shouldn't even be pressing the charges. At that point, they should be dropping the charges. Oh, through our research, we found that's a gray hair. Trying to get it. I thought it was dry skin. That's a gray hair, girl. This light showing all my grays. But you should be just trying to find the truth, because that's what your job is. It's not necessarily to defend every single thing that comes before you, even if it is untruth or it is fabricated, or if there's nothing to hold that together. You should drop it, and then that way give it back to the officers. Make them go research. Make them work. Make them investigate. That's what they are, right? Okay, but that probably would need to be in a whole nother video, because there's a lot about that, and I want to learn more about that and research more. And as I research more, I will share more, girl. Okay, so the previous are just the leading causes of wrongful convictions, but still remain a slew of other reasons wrongful convictions happen, and happen so frequently. First off, there's no wrongful conviction without wrongful arrest. That brings in your officer, right? Mr. Officer, Mr. Officer. They say they sit on the lap of God, right? Can't make no mistakes. But they actually are human, right? And they're supposed to be public servants doing the right thing for the citizens. Okay. Though our current criminal justice system says you are innocent until proven guilty, that is usually not the case. So that's the illusion that they sell us, that you're innocent until proven guilty. Once you set up there and you be like, I thought I was innocent, girl. They ain't proven. Guilty? What you mean? I thought I was innocent. No, you are not innocent until proven guilty. Literally, they're going to see you as guilty until, I don't know, some miraculous situation happens, right? Because it is literally not you're innocent until proven guilty. If that was the case, Marcello wouldn't have been found guilty, because they literally proved nothing. So how would you be, innocent until proven guilty if they prove nothing? When one actually finds themselves staring down the barrel of a conviction, that's when they find it out, right? Many see just the mere fact that being brought up on criminal charges as being a factor in if, in fact, a person is guilty or not. So just because you brought up on charges, people be like, so I gave some examples. I don't have to explain it. If you were arrested, you had to have done something wrong. They wouldn't have and couldn't have arrested you if they didn't have nothing on you. Y'all hear that all the time, right? We also tend to give far more weight to an officer's identification of a potential suspect and also their account of what allegedly happened than we do of any other witnesses or parties involved in a criminal case, even when the accounts opposing what the officer states greatly exceeds that of the officer. Valentino Dixon. And then maybe this will go back to the prosecutorial misconduct too. 8 people said that he was not guilty. He wasn't the one that, outed the person. And they discarded that. Someone still wrote that report up. They still wrote that report up. And then the prosecutor still went ahead prosecuting, though 8 people said he is not the person that pulled that fired the weapon, right? That ended someone's life. In Jimmy Dennis's case, I think there were 9 witnesses, and only 3 testified. And the other 6 were not willing to testify because the other 6 said that he didn't do it. They didn't want them up there saying, they said they would not say he did it because they know he didn't do it. So who's writing up these reports in the first place, arresting these people? The first thing that should happen after a crime is, y'all already know, going through the neighborhood. What did you see? Did you see Jimmy Dennis do this? Or who did you see? What did the car look like? So where is all of that? How are you jumping to someone that even the majority is saying it's not him? Y'all like to go with majority rules. Even the majority is saying it's not him. And you're still pinning this to him. Okay. What the officer states greatly exceeds that of, where was I? Even when the accounts opposing what the officer states greatly exceeds that of the officer. So that's that imbalance. All these people, the officer and the prosecutor, weigh more than 9 people. Then all them people giving you a different story. Okay, that would be okay if in fact we did live in a perfect and completely fair and just society, which y'all know we don't. But if we did, if we lived in some type of utopia, girl, where justice existed, girl, that would be heaven right here on earth. If we all were treated fairly and justly, yes. Okay, where officers were completely fair and just. Seems like every day we're hearing more and more stories of citizens being wrongfully outed at the hands of the officers we trust so greatly. Officers using horrible and unjust judgment to end human life. Some of the same flaws in law enforcement that lead to wrongful outing of our citizens are some of the same flaws that leads to wrongful convictions. That means we can't just keep taking our officers' words as face value. Now, I am not in no way, like I love what Chris say. Girl, I can't think of her last name. Do not hear what I'm not saying. I think Chris Reese. Do not hear what I'm not saying, girl. I am not saying that all officers are bad. Baby, I don't know all officers. I am not saying that all officers are corrupt. Like I said again, I don't know all officers. But I do know that officers are human. And humans bring their own bias, bring their own prejudices, bring their own everything, their whole history with them to work. So they're human. That means they can make mistakes. They can make purposeful mistakes, and they can make actual human error mistakes. But because of that, we need to look into it and actually investigate it. Don't just take the word of that officer. The officer that lied in Marcello's case, like, basically, and he has other cases of wrongful outing, so it might not have been Marcello just wrongfully convicted. Marcello could have been wrongfully outed, just like the other guy that the same arresting officer outed. It could have been to that extent. But that means that there needs to be an investigation. It needs to be looked through. Does what he's saying make sense? We go back to Marcello Jackson's case. If you want to learn more about it, I'd have a whole playlist. Wrongfully convicted Florida man, Marcello Jackson. And then it goes into Corey Miller. And then I'm going to add all these other wrongfully convicted. I review Valentino Dixon's story. I started reviewing Kevin Strickland's story. So it's not just Marcello. It started with Marcello. Marcello is the one that opened my eyes to this, because I literally did not know this happened, just like you don't know, most likely, until it happens, you know. But it is what lit the fire in me to fight, fight for wrongful convictions. Those that are wrongfully convicted. Okay. Officers using horrible judgment and unjust judgment to end human life. Some of the same flaws in law enforcement that led to the wrongful outing of our citizens. Yes, I already read that. Okay. Yes, we should take the officer's statement or ID into account. But just again, like the victim, you need to apply more evidence to it. Does everything that the evidence that you have, is it corroborating what this officer is saying? Okay, take it into account. But also it should not hold more weight than the other factors in the criminal case do. We trust and defend our judicial system, tooth and nail, which we should be able to trust our system. After all, it's supposed to work for the citizens. This is our system. And that's why I'm not okay with it. Because any of us, are you a good human being that like literally follows the law? And do you know you could end up, you could be living your life in prison. And once you get that number, baby, I'm sorry. Don't nobody care about you. I mean, I'm doing it for those. And that's why I hate that it's called criminal justice system, implying that criminals are getting justice. No, that is not what the system is for. This is our system in case any of us are put into that system. We need to have it just and fair so that we can come out on the other side. If your son gets into that system, he's on his way home from school, and now he's gone for the rest of his life. That happens. It's happened. And it might, I'm sorry, let me read that because that part goes with that. We trust and defend our judicial system tooth and nail, which we should be able to trust our system. After all, it's supposed to work for its citizens. And might I add, all of its citizens. But when a system proves to be flawed in the way of locking 10,000 people up a year, that means we ain't counting about twos. We ain't like we in elementary. We count about 10,000. So 1 year, 10,000, 2 years, 20,000, 3 years, 30,000, 4 years, 40,000. So over a decade, you're telling me by this statistic, 100,000 people are in prison wrongfully for things they did not do. Now, do you think it's easier for you to be grouped into that statistic? That's a large A number. And I know it's over the whole population of the U.S., but God, dog, that's too many people. We get concerned when a procedure says that you have a percentage chance of this, and this, and it's a lower percent, but we get concerned about that. But look at this percentage, and we're not concerned. Okay, I wonder why we as citizens of this country do not become alarmed. I think it goes back to the fact that the average law-abiding citizen don't believe this system truly affects them, since they are not out there committing crimes, just as other issues we don't concern ourselves with that we don't believe affect us directly, but it may. And then I have my next thought is corruption is insidious and it grows in the dark. Not necessarily, it is in the dark. It's in the dark because we don't care about it. We're not looking at it. It's not necessarily dark, but we don't even check on it. They don't, girl, anything, y'all already know my struggles. Anything done wrong to them, you can reach out to who you want to reach out, girl. But they siding with that prison. Most times, 9 times out of 10, it is a miraculous hand of God that me and Marcello had our visitations restored, because that's not the usual. That is not the usual. There have been wrongful outings while they're incarcerated. There have been people hurt. I can't think of her name. It's a female incarcerated citizen. I need to let you. I actually, if I could find it, I reviewed that video that came from Rajiva the Ruler, and she talked about her because she was actually incarcerated at Lowell Correctional Institution with her. And this woman came in, full able-bodied woman, and she walked out with her neck broken at the hands of a guard that is supposed to be upholding justice, not outing her. He had no right to do that. She's already been convicted of whatever she was there for. But to come home paralyzed, a paraplegic, that's not cool. But it's happening because it's in the dark. It's happening to those that they shouldn't have did what they did. That's the take we take on that. And that's why it's happening, because we turn blind eyes. Girl, I'm blind. This eye going to bed. And I see more of it than the others that are actually like literally like mentally blind. Girl. Okay. Also, an aspect to consider is that we may not be fully aware of the effects that a flawed system can have on our society as a whole. Having a just system, I would liken to an ecosystem, which all things work together, all things affect other things, and so on and so on. Example, there are those that don't care about things such as our physical environment and global warming or reducing our carbon footprint. But does that mean any of those things? Wait, am I missing a page? Ah, please don't tell me I lost one. I was trying to say, does that mean that any of those things do not affect us? I hope I did not lose that one. So that's all the notes I have for the moment. I'm going to check my bag. Girl, that was getting too good for me. I don't know. Y'all might like it, might not, because I don't get a lot of feedback. That's okay, though. I used to be not okay with not getting feedback and not getting basically like support. But now, if this is my purpose, I just got to see it through. With support or not, without support. But if I find those notes, which I think is in my bag, if it's not, girl, I hate when I lose a thought, because I sometimes don't get them back, right? And sometimes they're like gold. All right, guys, so we are going to, I'm waiting on money to get home. We're going to go check out this new park. I heard it was really nice. Y'all know I love parks. But I heard this one was really beautiful because we were looking for a place to go do, for me to do Money's graduation photo shoot. I still wanted to do a photo shoot for her. I dabble in photography. I ain't even gonna tell you I'm the best. That's just some stuff I do on the side somewhere because I took a photography class, girl. So I ain't gonna say I'm the best, but people say I'm really good, you know. So we're looking for a place to take her photo shoot. All right, guys. So I will talk to you later. It's your girl Cadillac. Thank you for being here with me, guys. I love y'all so much.